Henry Lawrence. I thought I'd start by saying, as you all know, the Raiders today are relieved Mike Shanahan as the head coach and appointed Art Shell as the new head coach of the Los Angeles Raiders. I predicate anything I say by telling you, in some instances, it's not a very happy moment. I've never had the experience in my lifetime of firing a head coach. I'm sensitive to a head coach. It's the toughest job in America other than possibly being president of the United States. And I know the struggle that they go through, because professional football is a vicious struggle to be number one. The microscopic scrutiny that we're under every day, every minute, is not easy. And you're dealing with the lives of people, and you have to be sensitive to the lives of people. But it's also a very happy moment for me to present Art Shell as the new head coach of the Raiders. For 3 decades, the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, he's been a truly great player and a great assistant coach. He played under 2 of the greatest coaches of all time, John Madden and Tom Flores, and he also served as an assistant to Tom Flores. He played with the greatest quarterbacks of all time. When you name the names like LaMonica, Blanda, Stabler, and of course the great Jim Plunkett. It sounds like a Hall of Fame speech. He's been an assistant coach here 7 years. He represents pride and poise because he's always had the qualities of self-esteem and dignity. I remember vividly when he came to us in 1968 as a player. It's ironic, I just watched on television Todd Marinovich, a quarterback at the University of Southern Cal. When we drafted Art Shell in 1968, the first person I sent to see him, to work out with him daily, was Marvin Marinovich, who was the father of Todd Marinovich, and when we started the weight training with the Raider program. He's been through every phase of football other than being a head coach. When he was a player, I asked him to go up to the University of California and be an assistant coach in the spring and the summer before we went to training camp. He did it for 2 years, and I guess and I hope that this is a dream of his. I admit that it's tough circumstances. The Raiders, and I know this is self-serving, for all their greatness, are in a period where there is some doubt as to the direction we're going, and I've asked him to take over this direction. I thought that what I would do is introduce Art to you, and then if there are any questions, certainly I'd be happy to answer whatever you'd want to present to me, and then certainly Art's big enough to handle whatever you want to direct at him. I might say to you, before you question me, I talked to Art last night after talking to Mike Shanahan yesterday morning, and while I alerted Art that I probably would make the decision to go to him, I really didn't make it until early this morning. When I say early, about 6 o'clock this morning. And so without much else to say other than I think he was a great player, he's a great assistant coach, and I'm sure he'd be a great coach and it'd be great for the Raider organization. Art Shell.
Thank you, Al. I'm just excited about it. Like Al said, this is a tough, difficult time to do this, but he talked with me last night. He said that he was thinking about doing it and that I might be the guy that he wanted to turn to. And I'm just happy about having the opportunity to coach in this great organization. If there are any questions, I'd like to answer them right now.
How do you feel about the storage unit?
You know, it is a historical event, and I understand the significance of it. But the main thing is I knew who I am, and I'm proud of it, but I'm also a Raider. And I don't believe the color of my skin entered into this decision. And I think if you know Al Davis or you know this organization, you'll understand that. That I was chosen because he felt that I was the right person at this time to be the head coach of this great organization.
Art, where did it go wrong for Mike in your estimation? Where do you have to regroup and start tomorrow tonight?
What I don't want to do is stand here and talk about Mike or demean anything that he has done. Mike came into the organization and he said the things that he wanted to do, give us direction, give us, keep up some of the tradition that we had in the past, and he did things his way. And being a coach, you have to want to do things your way, and he did them his way, and that may not have been the direction that the organization wanted to go in.
All right, Mr. Davis just spoke of the direction and uncertainty as to what direction the Raiders are taking. What is your responsibility in that regard? What is the direction the Raiders should take?
Well, the direction has to be one of regaining our identity. Identity of power, explosion, simplicity. We don't care if you know where we are on the field. We don't care about that. We'll also know where you are. And we want to keep things simple here and put our players in a position so that they can win, give them an opportunity to win.
Coach Cheryl, will it be a big change in the playbook?
No, there won't be, except a few subtle changes, as I just mentioned, changes as far as making things a little more simpler so our players can go out in the football field and compete.
Could you please explain why you felt now was the time to make the change?
You're asking me?
And so SportsCenter will have more.
But we were going in a direction of total change. Now, it's subtle, and I'm not in any way trying to get into professional football things that go on, but we did one other thing. In January or February of last year, we changed an entire defensive staff. Again, that was a big change, and it was big to me because there are a lot of people who had spent a lot of time here with the Raiders, but this was something we went, and I felt we came out of training camp way behind. It wasn't anyone's fault. That's what happens when you make a lot of changes. And we were behind, and we're just starting to catch up right now a little bit on defense. We have some liabilities in players at certain positions, but we're just starting to come around, and unfortunately we had some severe injuries and, of course, an unnecessary death that hurt us and set us back. But the change was made at this time because I have the feeling that the direction we're going is not the direction I want to go. And rather than keep waiting and finish the season and again find myself in an area that I don't want to be, I just decided I'd better do it now. It was just a gut feeling, a gut reaction. And actually, I know that a lot of you might think it's based on winning or losing. It isn't based on that. It's based on the direction and the identity of this organization.
Could you talk, you've been a student of this game, this is a great love of yours, football. Can you talk about the historical significance? I know what Art said is you didn't pick him because of color. At the same time, this is a landmark in many ways. Can you talk about the significance of his selection?
Well, I want you to remember that I was very cognizant when they brought Jackie into baseball. But the greatness of bringing Jackie into baseball wasn't that they brought Jackie into baseball. It's the great success Jackie had when he got into baseball. And the important thing for this big guy here is to have the great success on the football field as a head coach. And I told him this last night. I said, you know, all the great things you've done as a player can be lost if we're not successful with him as the head coach, and the Raiders are not successful. And that's the important thing to me, that he be successful, that we give him every opportunity to be, just like we tried to do with everyone else who's ever been a head coach here. Get him as many players as we can within the parameters that you can and do everything that you can. So, again, I go back and say that if this is a historic occasion, and I realize who he is and what's happening here, I'm not lost on that. But if it is, it'll only really be meaningful and historic if he's a great success. And that's the thing we have to achieve.
Art, today's the first day of many days we're going to get hit with these same questions about being the first black head coach. Your first game is a Monday night game. Well, the Raiders historically have dominated it. You're going to be on an intense showcase there. Next 12 weekends, you're going to hear the same thing over and over and over. How do you plan on handling the pressure, or the intensity of the pressure, or will there be any?
Well, in this organization, there's always the intensity, the problem of winning. That's what this organization is about, winning. And there are high expectations in this organization, and you can attribute that to the success that you've seen over the 3 decades that we've had here. And so the pressure will always be there for me as a head coach. But even if I was coaching at a high school, the same pressure will still be there. We're about winning. We're going to put these players in a position to win. We've had great players here. We've had great coaches. And I plan on following that tradition of being a great coach.
Art, coming in at mid-season, so to speak, do you have a contract beyond, extending beyond this season?
No. Alan, we haven't even discussed the contract. I guess we can go back to when I was a player. We didn't discuss contract then either. I talk about other things, player personnel, and how can we get better. So as far as the contract goes, I have no problem with that. We haven't discussed it, and I don't see that as being a problem.
Are you going to call plays on the sideline, Art? Are you going to call plays?
We have, as a staff, we'll make a decision as to who's going to call the plays.
Coach, how long did it take you to say yes?
It didn't take long, because if you work in this game as assistant coach, you want to become a head coach because you want to implement some of your own ideas. And here's an opportunity that I've been dreaming about. My dreams grew as I grew. As I got older, they grew. I wanted to be an assistant coach at this level, and I felt that if I worked and worked hard, the opportunity would arise, that I would be available. And I knew that going in, that if anybody in this league that would do what has happened today, it would be my guy. My guy.
Art, will all your present assistants continue? Will all the present staff stay on?
As of now, I don't expect any changes in my staff.
Do you anticipate
How about offensive coordinator?
We'll discuss that later.
Art, Alex Gibbs is a very close professional associate of Mike Shanahan. Do you anticipate there being any friction as a result of having someone so close to Mike being on the staff?
Again, I will discuss with my staff as to what we plan on doing, and we'll govern that when the opportunity comes up. And what has to happen here, I expect the staff to stay, but if someone who doesn't want to stay, then that's their prerogative.
Art, can you talk, the Raiders always talk about the pride of being the Raiders. You talked about that a bit before. Can you talk about the pride of being the first in this particular state?
Well, again, the greatness of the organization brings about pride. It brings about poise. Being the first black, it brings about pride. But again, just to be involved with the silver and black itself means a lot to me. That's what this is all about. Being a part of a great organization, a great team. I mean, you always hear us talk about the greatness of the Raiders, and I mean, you look past in history, 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and it's there. The record speaks for itself.
And as an observer of pro football, has it taken too long for this to take place, a black to be head coach in the NFL?
I don't want to get involved in that. Each owner has to make a decision as to what he wants to do, and the significance here is that I am now the head coach of the Raiders, and that's all that's important.
Art, what do you tell your players?
This has been hanging over their heads every week. Now you're the head coach. Tomorrow when they get together, what do you tell the players? What do you say to them?
I'll just remind them that we must move forward. Our backs are not against the walls. As has been said in the past, our backs are not against the walls. I mean, our future's ahead of us.
Coach, for a long, long time, a lot of people have charged that one of the reasons the Raiders have not won is because they've gone soft, they've played into the land of la-la atmosphere, and that they've lost a lot of the ferocity that was trademarked when you were a player. Do you have any particular plans to reinstill that in the team?
We're going to, again, as I said earlier, we are going to try to regain the power, the toughness, and the explosion that we've had in the past with the Raider organization. And we have great players here on this team. We have players that are capable of playing winning football, and I feel that we will do so.
Art, do you think there's still a place for power and toughness in the NFL as they play it today? We're seeing games now where teams are throwing 100 passes in the game. Seems like power and toughness are old hats in the NFL.
That's the only way I know how to win. Power, toughness, and explosion. You've got to have those things in order to win. I believe when it comes down to it, when you've got to play the great football teams on defense, whether it's offense or defense, you've got to have those qualities.
Al, do you now consider, in retrospect, a mistake to have gone outside the organization for a coach?
No, not really. You know, I wouldn't admit a mistake even if there was one. But, look, I think he's a hell of a guy. I thought it was good at the time. I thought we needed a freshness that had to come in here. And perhaps by getting it in here and seeing what they're doing and understanding it, it gave us a clearer picture as to what direction we should be going. I make the point to you that in the last 9 Super Bowls, 7 of those things were won by teams that don't use the shotgun. That's one example. The Redskins, the 49ers, and the Raiders. I could make a lot of points to you about power wins the big games. The only team that perhaps could not be classified maybe as a power team, but they have power players that won big games with the Niners. Roger Craig is really not he's a sweep runner, but he's a power runner. I mean, we can go into football. Is that we've lost time here with the Raiders, and that we might have affected the life of a fine young person. That is of concern to me. As I told you, I'm interested in individuals, but I also remember last January when a lot of coaches left here, and there wasn't too much remorse when they left based on they supposedly, couldn't do the job. Make one other point to you. No one remembers this, and I say this to this guy because he'll remember it. In 1968, our second-round draft choice was Ken Stabler. Our third-round draft choice was Art Shell. But our first-round draft choice was the Lord's Prayer out of Tennessee A&I, Eldridge Dickey. And the only point I make to you is that he didn't do it, and so he's not remembered. So this guy, if you think there is some historic significance to this, he's got to do it, and we got to do it, because that's all that counts in our culture. You're all sitting there, and you're all the reason. Who's number one? You got to win. And that's the only thing that's going to determine whether this guy, whether the Raiders continue their, what we like to say, their greatness and their success. And that's why he's there. I vividly see him. Maybe we'll get a player's agreement now. His roommate was Upshaw. And, how long were you his roommate? 15 years? Yeah. 15-year roommate of Upshaw. So you know how close we are to the players now. But I can vividly remember those guys. I still have that picture. It's a big picture, walking down that tunnel in New Orleans when we were getting ready to play the Eagles. He, Upshaw, as I told you, Dalby, Marvin, and Henry Lawrence. And those are memories that will live in my mind, and I just think he's the guy.
Did Art have any competition? Were there other names?
In this particular situation, this time,
Yes.
no. He was a candidate the last time, but I decided to go outside the organization. First of all, there were several candidates within the organization the last time. And I didn't want to get into it where I had to, as I say, I wanted to get a freshness, but I didn't want to get into the organization and start picking between about 3 or 4 guys. And I thought the best way to do it was bring someone in and keep everyone here. But it didn't work out that way because after the first year, a lot of people left.
Now, when and how were the players notified today of the coaching change? What was their reaction?
Well, first of all, I don't spend much time with the players as a group. I never have, in fact. I can't ever remember. And I don't know that they've been notified yet. I don't think they have been. I think that they will be notified through the process of the press, and that they will meet with Art tomorrow morning. Obviously, that's when they report back to, at least I think that's when, to get ready for this next game.
Al, earlier this year you said that last season in Mike's first year he'd gone in a direction that you weren't happy with.
Yes.
But that you felt you corrected the situation and that it wouldn't be a problem anymore. But did he then again move on?
Let me say, you see, this is a very subtle game. I mean, I could say things to you today that would be this is a subtle game. And by a subtle game, there are little nuances that happen within the confines of a game. All I can say to you is, and it may take us time, I believe in matchups. We believe in matchups. We don't believe in scheme. And it's a very subtle game. Even on defense, there are subtleties, new things that are happening with our organization that we have to get used to mentally and accept. Did we revert back? Yeah, we reverted back quite a bit. And it's no one's fault. It's just what you are. It's just, I mean, it would be, and I'm not trying to draw an analysis. Someone came in and was your boss and said he wanted you to go in a certain direction, and you did for a while, and then you went back to your own direction again. And that isn't the way he wanted it to go.
Art, on the day you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, you said that someday an NFL team will have enough guts to name a black head coach. When you said that, did you have any idea you might be talking about yourself?
Yeah, at that time, no. At that time, no. But I also said, if you recall, that if there was a guy that would do it, it would be our guy. And not solely on the color of the skin. Because the most important thing to him, and if you don't know him, is winning. Winning is the thing, and if here you have to win. And our tradition shows that, and that's what we want to get back to.
There's a lot of discussion out here about hands-on ownership. Do you expect it? Do you anticipate it? Do you welcome it?
Well, let me clear this up right now. I don't look at it as interference. I look at it as assistance. And I think I would be crazy if I did not try to tap into that wealth of knowledge. I mean, you have a guy that's been in the league for a number of years, that understands the game of football, and for me to stand here and tell you that I don't want him to interfere with me, I think it's going to be the opposite way. I'm going to bug him so much he might want to lock his door and keep me out of his room.
Who's going to handle the offensive line now? You or someone else?
Well, as of now, again, I'll meet with the staff and then we'll decide as to what we're doing. Right now, everything is remaining the same.
Al, you said earlier today that it's important to you that you give your head coach enough to work with. Do you feel that Art has enough to turn the season around this particular season?
Well, I tell you what's become normal in professional football that I never accepted as normal, and that's injury. We have to now start a season and go to training camp and have to assume that there are going to be injuries. You can't lament the loss of A, B, C, Tim Brown, or as I said, unfortunately, I don't know yet. We've got a chance. Yes, we do. In this division, you've got a chance, but I'll tell you this, I'm not so sure that, I don't want to get in because we got to play a lot of teams yet. I'm not so sure there are too many great teams in professional football today that 1 or 2 injuries won't destroy their momentum. Yeah, we've got a chance. Sure we do. I want to go back to one question because I never get a chance to talk to you guys as a group, and I guess I want to be quoted intelligently. Someone said about hands-on ownership. It's hands-on. It's interference, if you want to call it that. We call it assistance. And I did it with, as I said, two of the greatest coaches of our time. I did it with John Madden, but very quickly got my hands away from it because he knew what the hell he was doing, and he got going, and he didn't need me, but I used to live with him every day. We were friends. We used to talk football all the time. We were like kids. And to this day, when we get together, that's all we can sit around for hours and talk football. The same thing was with Tom Flores. I coached him. And so again, when I was talking to him, with Mike, we would talk quite a bit of football. And the only difference is, but there is a difference when you grow up with someone and you take someone within your family as opposed to someone with outside your family. That's all I'm saying. This guy, I've known him since he's a kid, and I just feel anytime I say anything to him or that he said it to me, I would know that there was no intent in any way to infringe or hurt or to take away something that belongs to him, because he knows me and I know him, and it's different when you're dealing with someone who belongs to you. And as again I say, this thing is not to be negative in any way toward Michael. So.
In a tough situation now, is there a sense of relief that now you're moving on with what you want to do?
No, there's relief. This is a vicious struggle, I tell you, to be number one. Everyone wants to be number one out there, and when you're in it, there is no relief. Only when you get one of those big trophies and it's Pete Rozelle giving it to you, you know, and everyone's yelling. Once in a while, when they send one of those checks from the National Football League for those lawsuits, there's sigh of relief, too. That's about it.
Al, how long had you contemplated this?
Well, it's an unfair question because, you know, it's like asking a guy who spotted, boy, it's hot in here. I don't know how the hell a player's sitting here. It's like after a guy who met a girl or something, you ask, how long have you thought about it, you know? But don't let Caroli hear that. But I'll tell you, what concerned me most, the first time I really started to become concerned was in January of last year, right after the season, when there was an interest. And again, this isn't an idea of, and I hope to God it can be taken in the spirit that it is, but there was an interest in letting go about 7 or 8 of our coaches. And then I realized that I couldn't, first of all, I couldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it, and it's not me. My life is here. These guys have given their life to this organization. There are so many people who count on us, who are out there, who've worn that uniform or who wanted to. And I just couldn't do it, and I started to worry, but then I would have a few meetings and feel reassured. But it's no one's fault. These things happen. It's, you know, and it's over with.
Does it mean anything to you that you have done something historic today?
No, I tell you, what's meaningful to me is the perpetual or the greatness of the Raiders into the 90s. I'd like to think that of all the teams in professional football, certainly, and in professional sports, the only one, I've said this, it's self-serving, who's been in the Super Bowl in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s is the Raiders. And I hope that we continue on in the 90s. I just like to perpetuate greatness, that he's my friend, and that there'll be great joy, you know, based on something like that. That's great, but what interests me is that we succeed, yes. I don't want to, you know, it's easy to say I'm not part of that culture, but I don't think I am. I'm not part of your culture either, but it's tough.
The same question that was asked to Mr. Davis earlier. Do you feel the season is salvageable with the personnel you have, given all the injuries?
We got good personnel here, great personnel. We have a lot of good players, and I feel that the season's not, we only played 4 games, so the season's not over. It's a long haul, and I feel that we can turn this thing around, and that's what my staff and I have to do, concentrate on turning this thing around and getting us back to playing Raider football.
Our people around here tend to talk a lot about the greatness of the Raiders, but the fact is the Raiders are coming off 3 consecutive non-winning seasons, and the people who are here now aren't the people who do the winning. How can you expect to instill the pride and tradition that you guys talk about so much in people who have really no concept of what it is?
Well, we have enough people around here that understands, that have been involved in it. So we're going to have to get those people. We got players that played on great football teams. We have Marcus Allen, we have Howie Long, Jerry Robinson is a great player. So we got the players that have been involved in it. And as coaches, we have coaches on our staff, Fred Belitnikoff, we got myself, Terry Rubisky, people that have been involved in it, and we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to show them and instill in them what it is to play Raider football.
How long do you think it'll take? I mean, it obviously doesn't take 1 week.
It doesn't take a long time if you understand what you're trying to do, what you have to do in order to get the job done. And I think that we can instill that in these guys. I mean, we'll start tonight. We'll start tonight by getting ready for the New York Jets, and start tomorrow when the players come in, and this is when we start our work.
There has been some criticism that great players don't make good head coaches, irrespective of the sport, basketball, football, because you expect people to do it as well as you did. You don't see that as a problem?
No, if you're calling me a great player, then again, being in the Hall of Fame, you have to understand me, understand that I may not have seen myself in that light. Maybe I'm being a little, but great players can be good coaches. This is a game about people. This is a game of people. And I think if you understand people and understand the limitations of the player, you can get a great performance out of that particular player. He doesn't have to be a great one. He doesn't have to be an O.J. Simpson. He can be a Clarence Davis and still be great for your football team.
Art, is this a scary time or a humbling time for you?
Humbling? Not scary, no. I thought I would be a lot more nervous than I am now, but I know the support that I have. I know the family that I have here within the Raider organization, and I know the kind of help that I'm going to get out of the people involved in this organization that's going to help me turn this thing around and help us become the great football team that we should be.
Art, you've been in the Raider organization now since 1968.
It's a long time.
You're proud to be silver and black, but you're also proud to be black, and there are other black athletes and men out there and women who are looking up to you today and saying, do I need to be in an organization 21 years to move up into a head coaching position? What can you say to those other athletes who want to aspire beyond their sport and to move up into coaching?
Remember that I was a player for 15 years, so you can't say I've been in the organization for 21 years. I've been here 21 years, but 15 as a player. Only 7 as an assistant coach, and I think each assistant coach, if he wants to be a head coach in the league, have to pay his dues. He have to learn as much as he can as an assistant, and once he become a head coach, still learn. And I'm always open, and everything is going to be coming from my staff. Input from my staff is going to be very important to me, because I think that's the only way you can win. You create a team atmosphere within your staff, and then you create it also within your team.
Have you spoken to any of the players yet?
No, I have not. I found out about it, officially about it, say 1 o'clock, so I haven't had an opportunity. All morning I've been working on the game plan as far as the New York Jets are concerned.
All right. Are you familiar with Willie Wood, and have you recognized that Al Davis was also instrumental in recruiting him as the first black quarterback at USC, and that Al Davis was also instrumental in appointing the first black official of the American Football League, Dr. Anderson Wade?
I mean, Al's success is documented throughout professional football. I mean, if you take a look at what he's done in professional football, I mean, you'll understand it. Yes, I know Willie Wood. When Willie and I were inducted into the Hall of Fame a couple of months ago, we talked about these things, and he admires Al so much. I mean, he feels that Al was very instrumental as far as his career was concerned.
Al, I don't mean to demean this ceremony, but
don't ask me, Keith, because you were wrong. I haven't signed the contract yet.
Oh, I never said
no, I'm teasing.
I just wanted to ask if you would clarify the club's position on the possibility of relocating the franchise.
Oh no, not at this time. Certainly, that's not on my mind right now. This team is, and that's always going to be second to the team, the core.
Al,
Al, can you address the length of the contract?
You know, it's a very difficult thing. The reflection, I don't think there's any problem. I think he's going to be here forever, at least for 10 years. Then we shove him out to bigger jobs. He might want to be the lead TV guy at ABC or NBC or CBS or something like that, or we'll move him up to the 49ers as the president and general manager. No, we got them all up and down this East Coast, or West Coast rather. Ortmeyer still at San Diego. Robinson's at the Rams. John's first job pro football was with the Raiders, and Bill's now. We got the two #1 TV analysts with NBC and CBS were Raider coaches, Walsh and Madden. So we're doing pretty good in this other walk of life. But I want to say one thing. I've always, again, his excellence will be determined on that field. We all know that. But a long time ago, people asked me, what's a great person? And I really couldn't give an answer because I wasn't sure to define it in very short words. And then I found an answer, that a great person is someone who can inspire in others the will to be great. I've watched this guy with all our young players through the years. I've watched him with our older players through the years, and he can communicate with people. He can inspire in others the will to be great, and that's so damn important in our culture today and in our environment. Unless there's anything else of magnitude, I certainly am done. And if you want to take him on, take him on. Thank you.
Doors open.